Hello everybody, it's Murray here and welcome back to my channel STEWART Paintings. On today's oil painting tutorial we're going to learn how to paint a gorgeous sunset over the ocean. I'm going to teach you how light works in a painting, and I'm going to teach you how to blend oil paints really easy to create an underpainting for your sky and your ocean that looks really realistic. So then we can mix colours and we can use warm colours for things like waves to create realism and perspective, and also cool colours to create shade and distance in our work. And you can learn how to paint this gorgeous oil painting of a sunset over the ocean. So let's get into it. So it's a nice and easy tutorial today. You're going to need the following colours. They are titanium white, lemon yellow, cad yellow, yellow ochre, orange, magenta, cerulean blue, ultramarine blue, dioxazine purple or unburnt ivory black. Now I've got a canvas that I've prepared. I've just stained it raw sienna and I've used cobalt blue to create an outline. I've used chalk at the horizon just to create a little outline and a little sun. And if you'd like to pause the video and copy down the outline, all it is we're going to have an ocean, we're going to have a sunset above it, and then we're going to have some sand at the bottom. I've used acrylic paint just to stain the canvas and to create the outline because it dries very quick and you can just paint over it, and unlike oils it won't all mix together. So all I'm doing now is I'm just getting some titanium white and I'm just going to create a low setting sun. So all I'm doing is creating a nice circle, and just coming down from it I'm going to create a shimmer on the ocean where that light reflects downwards onto the ocean and creates a nice shimmer. And then I'm going to create a glow around this sun. So imagine the sun is like a really luminous ball of light, and we're going to get some lemon yellow and lots of white, a tiny bit of cad yellow just to make it a bit darker, and we're going to create an ultra vibrant yellow. So there we go. And we're just going to go around our sun and create a lovely sort of glow around it. So think of like a halo. We're just creating this nice glow. And then we're just going to come out from it. Just make it a little bit wider. There we go. Easy peasy. And then while we've got that colour, we're just going to mirror the colour on the ocean. So we're going to create sort of a lock shape, like a key. And we're just going to come down and use that colour while we've got it to create sort of shimmer on the ocean water. So where you get light reflect downwards, we want to mirror that in the ocean. And then just here on the wet sand, we're going to have a little bit of a shimmer. So really easy. And then as the sunlight cools, it gets a little bit darker in colour, but it's still incredibly warm. So we're going to mix some cad yellow and some orange. So cad yellow and orange. A little bit more cad yellow than orange, please. And we're going to add a dot of brown. Just a dot. Now brown sucks a bit of the colour out to make it less vibrant. So by just putting a little bit of brown, not much, and a little bit of white, we can make it a little bit less vibrant and a little less harsh. But we still want it really bright. And all we're going to do, we're just going to go around that yellow circle. We're not going to blend it just yet. We're just going to go around it. And we're just going to create this lovely sort of glow effect. So it's the same principle. We just want to go around this circle. So exactly what we did with the white and the yellow. So there we go. Just go around it. And then we're just going to come down onto the ocean to match the colour. So let's come down. And then we've got the exact same colour in the sky that's on the ocean. And we just create this sort of lock and key sort of shape. And then we'll come all the way down. I've just noticed, I think I've stuck my thumb in some paint, so there's some red smears on the left hand side, so just ignore them. I've just literally stuck my thumb in some oil paint. Try not to do that at home. And then all I'm doing, I'm just softly blending the areas really, really gently with my brush. So I'm just trying to make the yellow and the orange go together really, really gently, just so it looks like it's all glowing and we're creating the framework to our sunset. So as we come either side, as I say, don't put your thumb in paint. As we come either side, we're going to just get darker, but it's still incredibly warm because obviously the light source is incredibly warm. Yeah, I'm not bleeding, it's oil paint. I've stuck my thumb in some magenta, I'm afraid. So we're going to come out to the sides, either sides of the horizon, and then what we'll do, we'll get a nice cool colour at the top to frame the painting. So now we've got this lovely glow in this focus point. We're just going to get some magenta, and then I'm just using a tiny bit of liquid just to make it a little bit runnier. And I'm going to put some cad yellow in to make it nice and warm, and some orange. And a little bit of this mustardy colour called yellow ochre. I hope that's how you pronounce it. And a little bit of brown. Now I've put way too much brown in, so I'm just going to mix that together and put a little bit more magenta in just to lighten it back up again. And then I'm just going to put some white to make it nice and pastel. But what I'm trying to aim at, the sort of a colour of like a brick dust, sort of. I'll just put a little bit of brown just to darken it. A little bit of purple, excuse me, just to darken it up. I'm trying to go for the colour of sort of a brick, and then I'm just going to add loads of white into the mix just to make it a little bit more pastel. And what we're going to do is at the horizon where the chalk line meets the ocean, we're just going to use this darker colour just to represent as the colour in the sky fades, it gets a little bit darker because it's getting less light. So we're just going to create this dark colour right down to that chalk. Now the great thing about using chalk is you can just paint over it. So it's really, really handy if you want to outline things that you're going to use pastel colours without leaving a dirty mark. So now we're just going to mix some of the cad yellow into that colour, and a tiny bit of yellow, ochre and orange. And we're just going to make a slightly darker shade of the glow around our sun. We're just going to add some white to the mix. So there we go, all nice and mixed together. And all we're going to do, we're just going to work that into the darker colour and just gently blend it so you don't notice the change in colour. We want that nice dark colour in the corners and at the base of the horizon. And then this nice lighter orange. It's just slightly darker than the glow either side of it. There we go, just blending it gently, coming up to that glow. And then all around here we want to kind of create a blue sky, but we can't really go from orange to blue because we'll get green. So what we're going to do, we're just going to add some white to our mix and a little bit of purple, just a tad of purple. So we just got this lighter colour because all we've done is add white and a dot of purple to the mix. And we're just going to create a nice beige colour. And again, we're just going to work it into that glow. So we're just getting gradually lighter as we move up. But again, the transitions are really smooth because we're blending. So oils are so much prettier and more realistic, but they're a lot harder than acrylics. So you almost have to be a bit more experienced to use oils because they're messier and you only kind of get one shot at things because they're always wet until you have to wait a few days to dry them and re-go over the top. So what we're going to do, as I say, we can't really just jump straight to blue. We're going to have to kind of make an in-between colour. So let's get some cerulean blue, which is this lovely bright blue, and lots of white to make it nice and pastel. So cerulean blue and white. Let's add a dot of purple. Excuse me, a dot of brown. a dot of raw umber brown and a tiny dot of purple now. We're going to make a sort of greyish colour, so I'm just going to add a little bit more blue to the mix just to make it more darker. We just want to create a cool grey, so let's add a little bit more brown to make it more grey. There we go, so we've got this cool grey, and we're going to save that for in a minute. And then we're just going to get some cerulean blue. A tiny bit of brown. And then we're just going to get a tiny bit more liquid. I think my brush is a bit dirty, but never mind. So cerulean blue and a little bit of brown. And then we're just going to put some white into the mix just to make it more pastel. And we're going to put a tiny bit of yellow ochre, just a tiny bit. We're trying to get this sort of in-between colour. It's not quite a green, it's not quite yellow, and it's not quite blue. It's sort of in between because it's got a little bit of white and brown in it. And we're going to use this kind of like a buffer. So let's try it out. Let's see what it looks like. I think that's going to work. So let's just add a little bit more white just to make it a little bit more pastel. It's always better to go lighter, and we can rework it if we need to darken it up. So there we go, that's perfect. And what we're going to do, we're just going to leave a tiny sort of little millimetre gap between the blue and the orange. So try to keep a little gap between the blue and the orange, simply for the fact that if you have a nice clean brush, you can just block in the painting without the orange mixing and getting a sort of muddy colour. So just by having this colour first before we do any blending. Now all I'm going to do here, I'm just going to speed up the video a tiny bit just for the next 30 seconds while I just block in the sky. It's not very exciting. All I'm doing is I'm blocking it in. It's just, it took me a little while because I kept running out of paint and I had to keep remixing it. So what I've done is I've just sped up the video. But obviously if you're painting along at home, don't rush or anything. Don't try to keep up with me. You can always pause the video and I'll put it back to normal speed. But look, if you see, I've just left a tiny gap. I keep running out of paint, so I kept having to mix some, and then I walked past my light and it all got bleached. So I'm a true professional. But I keep saying to everyone, I like to leave all these things in the videos because I'm trying to show everyone's human. Nothing works first time. And especially if you're trying to do something and film, you're very self-conscious and you tend to muck things up. So even me, I do that all the time. So everyone's human. We all do it. So there we go. I've just blocked it in. I will put the video back to normal speed. So there we go. We've got this little gap. And we've got this nice colour in our sky. So now we're going to get brave. I've got a clean brush. So let's give it a bit of clean. I'm actually using water-based oil paints. And all I'm going to do here, I'm just going to mix these two colours together. So I'm going to mix the orange that we just mixed and the sky colour we just mixed. And I'm just going to put them together. But I actually use water-based oils because I don't like the smell of terps and things like that. So I actually find these ones are really nice because they're water-based and I don't have to use any stinky solvents. So my house doesn't smell like a factory. So I tend to like to use these. So all I'm doing, look, I'm just mixing the two areas now. I've mixed I've used the glow colour that we used either side of the horizon and that light blue. But I'm just going to mix some more. I'm just going to mix some yellow and orange together. So cad yellow and orange. Let's put a bit of white again to make it nice and light. So I've got some of that colour in the storehouse. Let's put a tiny bit of brown, suck a bit of the colour out. So I can go between the two colours. So look, if I want to increase the glow and work that into it, I can do that. So let's, around this area, this is going to be right in the centre. I want this really bright. So let's go up a little bit higher. And let's just work that into the areas. So I'm just gently blending it. And then I'm just cleaning my brush and my scruffy painting clothes. You can use a cloth at home. Let's just do the same here, just so that glow just naturally blends. And I'm just easing up on the pressure. I'm just extending it outwards, just so it looks like it's fading naturally into the sky. And all I'm doing, look, I'm just creating little X shapes with my brush. So I'm just wiping away most of the paint, and I've got hardly any paint. And I'm just really gently touching the canvas, really gently, like almost stroking it. And I'm just going back and forth, rocking my hand back and forth. Just gently pushing down the bristles against the canvas. And then I just clean my brush. I'm just mixing those two colours, those two areas together. So the bluey colour and the glow, and I'm just adding a tiny bit of white to get sort of an in-between beige that's not warm and it's not cold, it's in between. And I can use that just to extend this area and sort of bridge the gap between the cool blues and the warm oranges. So we're trying to make all the transitions look really pretty. So if we've done it here, smear it here. Let's do it the other side, just so it all matches. So really gently. So oils always look more realistic because the colours have like a sheen, like a texture to them. So when they dry, they still look very real. Whereas acrylics dry a little bit flat, which sucks a bit of the colour out. So if you haven't varnished them, they sometimes don't look as good as when you paint them. So as I say, combining the two, learning how to paint in acrylics to learn all the basics, and then maybe highlighting areas with oils, or upgrading to oils, keep you in good stead. So that's why I'm trying to cover both in all the tutorials now. Now everyone's getting so good at home. So I'm just going around that area, just with the edge of my brush, and I'm just making the glow just look seamless. So that's looking pretty, that's looking nice and real. The blending's starting to work. So you see me jumping up from my seat. All I'm doing, I'm just taking a step back because I just want to check everything. And sometimes when you're so close to the painting, you can't really check it out. So a good idea is to get off your bum and just take a look from a few feet away and just see that it looks nice and smooth. Because sometimes when you're really close to something, you just can't see it. So this cool grey blue that we made earlier, I'm just going to add a tiny bit of brown to it. So it was cerulean blue, white, and I think a bit of magenta, and a little bit of brown, and some yellow ochre. We're just going to make a slightly darker version of our sky. So let's just put a little bit of white into it, because we don't want it too dark, we don't want it really dark. And all we're trying to do, we're trying to make a cool grey, and we're just going to frame our painting. So if you hear me in all the tutorials, we always darken our corners to get you to look towards the middle. And because our setting sun is directly in the middle, this creates this lovely sort of frame effect that just frames your composition and gets you to look towards the middle. So it's a little trick. Sometimes we see like paintings or photography, they darken up the corners just to make you look towards the middle. So there we go. So we've got this lovely pushback background now. So now we're going to work on our ocean. We're going to try to mirror the colours of the sky in the ocean. So well done everyone at home who's working hard and doing that sky. So we're going to get some orange and yellow again. And some white. And make our lovely colour. So we've got that colour from what we had in the sky. And we're just going to mirror that onto the ocean. So around the sun's going to be really hot, isn't it? It's going to be getting lots of shimmer on that lovely ocean. So all we're going to do is we're going to use that bright glow colour on the tip of the ocean, where the ocean and the sky meets, to create a really beautiful glow. And I've got a pretty steady hand, so I can do this quite straight. So this looks quite cool. If you find that you go a bit wonky, unfortunately you can't put painting tape over oils like we do with acrylics, because you'll just rip all the paint off. You can always wait for it to dry, and in a week just neaten areas up. So that is the one thing with oils. Trying to do straight horizons freehand can be quite difficult. So if you do struggle at home, you could always come back to the tutorial and just, once it's dry, add a little bit of painting tape and neaten it up to get it more straight. So we're just mirroring this glow now onto the ocean, and as you can see, my lovely cobalt blue outline is still shining through, so I know exactly where everything is going to be. And we're just going to come down just here. We're just going to gently blend it, and we're just going to come down onto where the shallow water is, and it goes much more flat. This is sort of like ankle deep water as it comes up onto the beach. So we're just going to have a hint of a glow either side of it. And then as we go either side, just like the sky, we're going to get a bit darker. So we've got this lovely glow, so either side we're going to get a little bit darker. We're going to use this dark colours that we've mixed up earlier. So I'm just going to add some purple and some magenta and a little bit of this scarlet red. I just realised I've left scarlet red off the list because I think that's the only time I actually use it. So it's just a dot of red, but I think you can get away with not using it. You can just use magenta and purple. So let's get some more cerulean blue. So cerulean blue, just to make it nice and grey again. So magenta, purple, cerulean blue, tiny bit of brown just to make it a bit more grayer, a bit more realistic. There we go. Let's put the last of that cerulean blue. And just a dot of ultramarine blue. Ultramarine blue is a lot darker, so you only need a little bit. And then what we're going to do, we're going to darken up our corners. So like we did with the horizon, we're going to put this dark colour on first, and then we're going to blend over the top. So I know it looks very dark and a bit unnatural now, but we're going to go over it and blend it in a minute. So we're just going to use this colour because this area is going to be the furthest away from the sun, so it's going to be a bit more in the shade. So let's just add a little bit more white because it's a bit harsh. So there we go, we're just going to go over the top in a just lighter shade. So we've got this nice sort of warmish grey. And let's do the same the other side. And again, let's use that for the back end of our wave. So as the wave crashes down, it's going to have its back to the sunset. So all its sort of foam, as it sort of crashes into the shallow water, will sort of be in the shade. So we're going to use this nice colour just to block in this area. This could be our base for our shadow colour. So that's our big wave going across. And we've got, as I say, our darkened corners, because this area is going to be furthest away from the sun. So in between, we're going to have a mixture between obviously warm colours and the blues again. So we just get some titanium white and some cerulean blue. So titanium white and some cerulean blue. We're going to add a dot of purple, but more cerulean blue and white than anything, please. And then a tiny bit of that yellow ochre that we did in the sky. And a tiny bit of the raw umber, just to make it a little bit grayer. And all we're going to do, we're just going to colour in this area. And we're just going to blend it into that darker colour. So we're just going to come down. So let's just block in this area first. And then we're just going to gently rub it into this area. And mix these two areas together. So what we're trying to do is make it look like it's just getting darker as it comes in towards the beach and further away from the light. So we have the lighter blue at the top and the more grey at the bottom. So let's just get some more paint. And let's do the same this side. So we have this lighter blue just here in the shallow water. And then let's just mix some cerulean blue and white. A tiny bit of that yellow ochre. And then just gently blend it here. Go. We're just trying to get our transitions really smooth so you don't notice the jumping colours. So take your time, don't rush. So let's do the same here. Just merge it into that nice dark grey. Whoops, my painting's moving. And then we're just going to put a tiny bit of white into the mix, just so it's a little bit more pastel, just up here. It's closer to the sun. So I just added a little bit of titanium white to the mix. And again, I'm just going to make this area a little shade lighter. Just coming down. So look, this is light, getting medium, getting darker. So we're going to do the same this side, so it's just got a little bit of white in that mix. And I'm leaving a tiny gap just at the top of the ocean because we're just going to make that a bit more glowing. And we're just going to go over the top here. And again, just make this a shade lighter going down into that dark grey. So we've got these nice cool corners as we come into the beach and get away from that sun. So now, because we've got this sort of big jump between orange and these blues, just like we did with the sky, we're going to start trying to merge it together. So I'm just going to get some of the orange and yellow that we mixed in. And with my same brush, so it's a bit mucky, because it's still got a hint of that blue we've just mixed. I'm just going to merge the two areas together. So again, trying to be really steady to get a nice straight horizon. And I'm just trying to merge this colour that's in between into that orange. And let's do the same here. Going right up. And I think it's just a little bit too light in certain areas, so we'll get a bit of orange in a minute. But let's just blend it here. And just slightly, again, just coming down. And I'm just going to put a hint of the orange and yellow, I think, because I think it's just too light. It doesn't link the areas enough. So let's just colour it in first. So just on this shallow water, just going to have a hint of that sunlight. And then we're going to get some of the orange and yellow and just extend the glow, I think. So let's get some cad yellow, a little bit of orange. So lots of cad yellow, a little bit of orange. And then let's just wipe a little bit of the paint off, and let's just tie these two areas together. So all I'm doing, look, I'm just going back and forth like rocking a baby. I'm just rocking my brush back and forth, and I'm just trying to interlink these two areas, look. And I'm just trying to extend that glow out slightly at the top here, just so it merges with the sunset. So by creating this underpainting and creating the realism in the blending, that's half the battle. So once you get good at this, you can start putting the detail on the top. So by just working on your blending, taking your time, don't rush, just enjoy it, relax. So there we go, just merging this nice and softly. And then let's just get some of that colour that we use for the glow. It's just a little bit stronger. It was just orange and yellow and a tiny bit of white. And let's just extend that glow down onto the ocean. So again, we're just merging areas. And just have it coming down here. Just at the bottom. And we should be getting a mirror effect. It should look like it's all one sort of big light source. And it's hard to see where one colour ends and one begins because we're nice and blending everything, you see. So there we go, let's just blend that. Just down here at the bottom on the shadow wet sand. And then I'm just going to get my brush and I'm just going to get a hint of that colour. And I'm just going to start putting some on the sand. So if you imagine that light is really illuminating, it's really, really bright, isn't it? It's like a big flash of a torch. So here on the sand, this area is going to be nice and warm. It's going to be getting that glare as the light comes in. So we're just going to use that orange and yellow to create some nice warm glow. And then we're going to start blocking in our sand around that glow. But just before I do that, I'm just going to use that colour with hardly any paint on my brush. I've got barely any paint. Just going to clean it off. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get some of that orange and yellow. I'm just going to add a tiny bit of cobalt blue. Sorry, it's cerulean blue, my mistake. And I'm going to wipe off 90% of the paint. And I'm just going to glaze this area just to merge this area because there's a bit of a jump in the sky that I've noticed. Now it's a little bit drier. So I'm just going to merge this area just so that it looks like that warm glow of the sun is all around the sky. And I keep sticking my finger in the blooming magenta. I keep sticking big red prints at the bottom here, left. Oh. So as I say, oil paints are messy. Have some baby wipes handy because if you do make a boo-boo and stick your thumb in paint, you can just wipe it. And we're going to get some of that grey we used, which got a little bit of ultramarine blue and purple. So all greys are just white, blues and purples, and you can add a little bit of brown to make it more grey. We can use yellow ochre to make it a little bit more mustardy. And just by adding white, you can lighten it up. And again, I'm just going to darken up the corners here on the ocean. Just coming in from the side, because this area is going to get less light. So just like we did at the top of the painting, where we did that with the corners, remember? We're just doing the exact same thing. That I'm just coming from the edge. I'm just making the ocean nice and dark just at the corners, really softly, just to draw you to the middle. So I think our underpaint is pretty much done. We've just got to do the sand and then we'll start doing all the waves. So let's just blend this area. But can you see it's the colours that are tricking the eye? That's what's giving the realism. So let's make some sand. So let's get a big dollop of raw umber brown and add a little bit of purple and a little bit of orange to give it some heat, and some white and a little bit of black, just a little bit. more brown. I think I've run out of brown. Let's put some brown back in. The magic of editing, look at that. So let's add some more brown just to heaten it up. And a little bit of ultramarine blue. So we've got this nice browny dark colour, because this area would be pretty much silhouetted, but we don't want to use black because black looks a bit cartoony. So we're going to use this nice sort of warm purpley colour that's got some brown in it. And we're just going to block in the bottom of our painting. We can get rid of all those horrible thumb marks that I stuck my thumb in. And we're just going to do our X shapes and just merge it into that warm orange. So just gently blend that. So let's make it nice and dark at the bottom just to frame it. And then we'll just gently blend it, really ever so gently, into that orange. So look, I'm just doing my X shapes, coming back and forth, just easing up on the pressure as I want to blend. And if you get a few streaks and stuff in the sand, don't worry, that could be terrain. It adds all to the realism. So we've got that area nice and blended. So either side of it, we want it nice and dark to frame it. So let's just block it in with this dark colour. And again, it's much easier if you use a big brush. You can cover more distance. So let's just blend that area where it's just smeared, just so it looks a little bit prettier. And then let's just do the bottom corner where we're going to sign it. So I'm going to add a little bit of black to the mix, just a little bit. Black is really overwhelming, so you only need a little bit because it kills all colour. So we're just going to make this corner nice and dark because that's where I want to sign it. And again, we're just going to gradually blend that. So there we go, we can have our signature there. So we need a nice dark corner to put our signature over the top. And then if we've done it on one corner, we want to do it on the other one. So we're just going to do the exact same trick. We're just going to add that colour that had a little bit of black into it. And we're just going to frame our bottom right corner. So there we go, easy peasy. And then now, while we've got these colours, let's make a dark colour for the waves. So let's get some ultramarine blue and some raw umber brown, and we're going to make a silhouette colour. We're going to add a little bit of orange to it. So as I say, a lot of these waves would almost look silhouetted. So we're going to try it out, we'll see what it looks like. If it looks too cartoony, which I think it's gonna, we can go over it, but I want to show you the difference by just using different colours. So we're going to use a dark colour first to show you how cartoony it looks, and then we'll go over it with some nicer colours to make it look more realistic. So if you imagine a wave when it comes into shore, this wave would be quite near to us. So by using dark colours, we can bring this real close to the viewer and bring it forward. And as I say, it's not quite black, it's this blue and brown. And all I'm doing, I'm using the edge of a flat brush just to pull the wave over, just so it looks like it's barreling down. So I'm just pulling down, look, just pulling down with my flat brush into that grey that we laid first. But can you see it's just too harsh? It just looks too silhouetted. It almost looks a bit cartoony. So we'll use this colour first and then we'll go over the top and I'll show you. So I'm just pulling it down. And then let's add some orange to the mix. so it's not as harsh. Still think it's too harsh, but let's have a go. Let's see what it looks like. Let's add some white. Bit more orange. A little bit of brown. A little bit of ultramarine blue. So look, going over the top, you can just colour it in. So if it's too dark, look, you can just colour it in. But I still think it will look too harsh. But it's good to try these things out. That's why, again, that's why I kind of leave these in tutorials. Because I'm trying to show you, like, sometimes you see a reference photo and it does look very dark. So you mix colours, and then when you lay them, it's not till you actually see it on your painting, it can look a bit harsh and a bit cartoony. So I'm using a flat brush. Now flat brushes are really good for waves because you can do nice straight lines. We're deliberately making them quite bobbly because waves are bobbly. But we've got a little wave coming in towards the shore in the far distance here. And then we've got our big mama in the foreground. And we kind of want to use this colour to sort of emphasise that. So there's me getting up and down like I was saying. So let's just have some little ones, and I'm using that flat edge just to get a nice sharp edge to create the waves. And then I'm going to get this colour and I'm going to just do a divide between the ocean and the wet sand. So let's just have a little divide here. I'm just going to put a little bit more blue into the mix. So this area at the bottom would be very silhouetted because it's very far away from the sunlight. So it's going to be quite harsh in its outlines. So let's use that sharp edge. There we go. And then let's just make an edge where the wet sand and the sand meets. And some divots here in this shallow water. So we're just using that colour and that really sharp edge. So as I say, if you struggle with a steady hand, a flat brush makes your life so much easier for going across and just doing these waves. It makes them so easy, and they're literally $1 or £1 to buy these brushes in any art shop, so you don't have to spend a lot. So let's just do a few of these divots just to make it look more 3D. And then, as I say, let's have a nice divide between the wet sand and the dry sand, just so it's got a nice sharp line. So look, you can do really thin lines. It's brilliant. It's like a little fine liner. And then let's get some white and some cerulean blue. Let's make a lighter grey, I think. So white and cerulean blue. There we go. And some yellow ochre, just to make it more warm. So white, cerulean blue, and a little bit of yellow ochre. Let's just make a grey that's sort of in between for some of these waves. So I think that's a bit too light. Let's just darken it up a tiny bit with some brown. So a lot of painting, as I keep saying to you, is experimentation. You don't always do everything perfect the first time. So just by darkening areas up and lighting areas up, taking a step back, using all these techniques like the brushes, I'm trying to teach you how to combine things to make it much easier for you in the future. So by learning all the fundamentals, you can apply all these things, all these tricks that I'm teaching you into your own paintings. And then hopefully when you're out about, or you're by the beach or on holidays, you can take loads of pictures and reference photos, and then you can do your own pictures. And they'll be unique to you, because there'll be places you've gone, there'll be places that you've spent time with your family, and it's all the more special. You'll have memories and you can make them into nice gifts and things like that. So loads of cool stuff. Art is the best way to cheer people up. So if you make something unique and give it to one of your family members or a loved one, they'll absolutely appreciate and treasure it. So I'm just using this colour just to do some far off waves. So I'm using that really thin edge just to make it really thin, far away waves. And because it's that light grey, you can see them, but they look like they're far off into the distance. So again, it's the colour that's tricking the eye. It's making it look like it's far away, whereas the dark colours make it look like it's coming closer. So let's get some orange and put it in that grey to hotten her up, and a little bit of yellow. So let's make this warm sort of tanny colour. So by adding orange and yellow to our cerulean blue, white and yellow ochre, we're just going to go over this wave and make it less harsh. So as I say, we can fix things with foils. You can just go over the top of them. So by making this more beige and making this warmer and lighter, we can push it back a little bit, because I think that darker colour was bringing it forward and we want to make it look realistic. So by using this colour, we can push that wave back a little bit. We still want to be quite harsh because obviously it's a bigger wave. So let's get some more orange and yellow. And just under the sun, let's make it even brighter. So this area right in the middle will be getting all the sunlight. So by using yellow and orange, we can make it look like it's glowing in the sunlight. And we can do the same on the ones underneath. So take your time, try to have a steady hand. But all we're doing, look, we're just colouring in the waves we've just done in this warmer colour. And it just looks like they're getting all that heat from that beautiful sunset. And we can do the same look on our big wave. So there's nothing we can't correct. So in the middle especially, it's going to be getting lots of sunlight. It's getting all bleached. So if I zoom in for you, you can see it a bit easier. So look, you can add a little bit of yellow in the middle. You can make it even lighter. Same here. And if you have to do 2 coats of paint, as I say, don't worry. Sometimes you just have to go over it once or twice just to soften her up. I'm leaving the outsides just a little bit darker. It's just so it looks like that sunlight's going in the middle. And I'm going to get some purple and orange to make a really nice sort of vibrant orangey purple. And then either side of the middle, I'm just going to warm her up. So again, so it looks like that sunlight is just cascading down on that beautiful wave. So let's make this side nice and orange and purple, so it looks like that sunlight. And same on this side. There we go. Just it's a tad darker away from the sun. And then just here in the middle, just on even these little waves, I'm just doing the same trick. Just so it looks like these ones are just getting all the sunlight. So it all ties in. You can even outline your wave, look, underneath with that colour. It's kind of like a burgundy. Sort of a nice colour. My family all grew up in Edinburgh, and we have 2 football teams, and all my family support one or the other. One's this colour, which is called Hearts, and the other one is green, it's called Hibs. So it reminds me of them. So there we go. And then we're just going to add a little bit of ultramarine blue and brown to the mix. Still got some of that orange. And we're just going to use the darker colour either side just to match what's on the top. So this area is a lot more cooler, and the warmer colours are still in the middle. So again, all the sunlight matches. So that's looking fan-dabby-dozy. So let's get some white and some cerulean blue. And we're going to make the colour of sea foam. So we don't want to just use pure white because again it will look cartoony. So by adding some cerulean blue and then adding a tiny bit of the yellow ochre to give a hint of the sky colour, and a tiny bit of ultramarine blue just to make it a little bit darker, we're going to use this colour to create the cascade of all the water in a wave and add some highlights. So here in the middle, this area will be getting some sunlight. So I'm just using a little fine liner and I'm just pushing up and down and just merging it into that darker grey. So if I zoom in for you, and we're trying to use this light colour here in the middle because this area, all that sort of wash as it comes into the shore, will be kind of getting all the beaming light coming down on it. So we're just using that colour, and then we're just going to add some ultramarine blue to the mix and make a darker version. So we've got the light one for the highlights and a cooler, more blue version for the shadows. So there we go, just make this nice cool version. And then either side, just like we did with the wave, we're just going to have more of a cool colour. So where we've got the heat in the middle getting bleached by the sun, we're going to have all this area of the wave getting less sunlight, and that would make it appear blue and in the shade. So there we go. And then let's do the same the other side, just so it all matches. There we go. You can just gradually blend it. Just so it's not so much a big jump again between colours. We're not going to go super detailed, we just want to sort of cover the basics today. And I'm just going to add a little bit of brown to the mix and just make it even darker and greyer with some more blue. And then just on the very outskirts, I'm just going to make these areas almost really dark, because these are the areas that aren't getting any light. So let's just make them nice and in the shade, nice and cool. And that blends into the light blue, it blends into the middle. And then while we've got these colours, let's use the lighter blue just here on the outskirts. So just on the very tip of that wet water, that shadow water that could be sparkling in the sunlight. And then let's get our fine liner and get some of the cooler blue. So that was just white, cerulean blue and ultramarine blue, so the cooler of the two shades, and just come out either side of it. Just have a nice little ridge. There we go. And the same on the other side. So let's just load up some paint on my brush. Make sure to leave that dark outline. We just want to go alongside it. There we go. And then we'll just create a few little pockets and bubbles of sea foam. Not too much, because I don't want to cover up our beautiful shimmering water. So we're just going to have a few. So all I'm doing, look, I'm just linking that edge with a few little zigzags and dots. And all they are is a little bit of, when the shallow water comes up to your ankles, you get all this sort of like foamy bits and bubbles as it all meshes together. So we're just using that cool blue just to imply that. Let's do a few this side, but we don't want to do too many. We want them really subtle, because I want that nice shimmer in the middle to be the center point. And again, look, you can use the lighter of the blue nearer the sunlight. So again, same trick, we're just using the lighter of the two shades of blue in the middle. But it's the same technique, look, it's little zigzags and splats, just to represent some bubbles. Excellent. There we go. And then I'm just going to put my sun back in with a big blob of titanium white. I'm going to come down and just make this shimmer incredibly vibrant and just on the tip of that wave, just so it looks like it's all getting bleached and illuminated. And then let's have a tiny bit underneath, just a tiny bit, and a tiny bit just coming down on that far edge. Looks so pretty. And then, oh god, sorry it's so bright, I think I walked in front of the light. And then all I'm going to do is just darken this up ever so slightly with that dark grey. I just want to make the corners nice and dark. Just really, really gently, you don't have to. I'm just finishing her off. And I think she's finished. So I've signed her in the bottom left hand corner. So you've learned how to create a glow using this beautiful sort of key shaped, and how to do a shimmer on your ocean, how to extend the glow out towards the horizon and to mirror that on your ocean water and create an underpainting, how to then merge those colors and then frame your corners to draw your eyes to the middle, how to use colors to push back waves to make them look like they're in the direct sunlight, and then how to make them darker to bring them towards the viewer, and then obviously how to use shade and highlights on the sea foam to make areas look like they're in the highlighted light or the shadows. So my name is Murray, thank you so much for watching guys. I hope you enjoyed this oil painting tutorial of a sunset over the ocean. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I will see you next week. Have a lovely weekend and happy painting. See you soon. Bye.